I can't look.
Hey, what is up, friends? Today is Saturday, September 5th. I hope you guys are having a great day. Today, it appears that Bitcoin has officially found support. So we're going to be talking about that. Is this the bottom, and are we going to see more continuation, or are we possibly going to see more downside? All right, so we're going to talk about all of that in this video. So let's get right into it. Right now, I have the Bitcoin chart pulled up on Bitstamp. I like to use Bitstamp Exchange because that is where we have the most data to work with in terms of our charts. Okay. So right now I'm working with, of course, the daily structure, but let's go into the weekly. Okay, the 1 week. That way we can get a bigger idea of the situation that's going on. And as always, like I always mention every single one of my videos, is that we always need to draw our trend lines, of course. So if we go all the way from the top, all the way to the bottom, and we continue all the way through with that follow through, right? More or less something of that nature, something like that, right? We get to see our top resistance structure. In fact, let me actually draw it twice here. The reason being is because I want to show two examples of what's kind of going on possibly. The second one's going to be something of this nature down here. So like that. And let's also draw our bottom support structure, or our bottom trend line, I should say, right? So something of this nature. Again, it's not going to be perfect, but I'm going to try to line them up to the best of my ability. So when we look at things like this, all right, it's pretty clear what's going on with Bitcoin on a long-term basis. It appears that Bitcoin did end up going through what's known as a huge consolidation phase. And I talk about this in every single one of my videos, right? How this is just one large tightening wedge that happened with Bitcoin. And recently, Bitcoin did attempt to break out, right? So that is where we're currently standing at. And so the question remains is, what's going on with Bitcoin? Are we going to continue to rally, or are we going to drop and go back into our resistance range back here, right? Which I know a lot of bears, that is what they would love to see. But I want to make a counter argument to that into this video, okay? So let's go back into the daily time frame, okay? When we go back into the daily, we see a pretty interesting picture, right? It looks like when we drew that second downtrend, that bear trend, it appears that we see something a little bit different, right? So I know that in the first one, in the first little trend, wrong one. First, in the first one, we did end up breaking that support structure. That was my initial trend line. But I did end up drawing the second one because the second one in some ways kind of plays a little bit of some more influence. You can see that back here, it did end up rejecting that resistance structure, but now it's enacting as a strong support structure, okay? So that is why I kind of drew that one, because technical analysis, again, isn't necessarily about predicting perfect price action, but rather just getting it right to the point where we start to see what has the most influence, because over time, those support structures are the ones that are going to end up in the future having the most influence, okay? And right now that bottom support structure seems to be that one that has the most for the time being, okay? And that price action as right now, it leads us to around $10,200 or so. That also correlates with this top resistance structure, okay? We can see right here, more or less, right, when we get the bigger picture, that this area is a strong area of confluence. This is where previously we did end up seeing 3 resistance areas, right? So right here you can see that we attempted a breakout in this area. So that's the first one. Let me see if I can clone it really quickly. Yeah, there we go. Here's our second one. I'll clone this one more time. And of course, here is our third one, right? So you can tell that this area really is a strong area of resistance and strong influence, because that is where we had 3 consecutive areas where we rejected that price action. And as right now, right, when we go to its current price action, that area is now enacting as our support structure, okay? Let me actually delete this top line. You can see right now, this morning, so if we go into that 4 hourly, you can see we had a retest of that 10,000 range or so. And this is where we're currently holding, right? So right around this area, we're currently holding just above it. And so this is a very critical area, okay, guys? To me, what this tells us is that right now we're in a position where Bitcoin must absolutely hold this area and actually recover from here on out. Meaning that if we don't see a huge bounce within the coming days or so, and we end up at least trying to retest this upper region and maybe perhaps consolidate over time in this general vicinity, right? So in this general area right here, if we don't do that, then things could get very, very ugly very quickly, right? That means that if we were to break the support structure at this point, then yes, I would honestly be kind of bearish. I would think at that point that we'd probably make lower lows at that point and continue to make a downtrend. If we don't, again, if we don't support that, support the current support structure, right? Or hold that current support structure, I should say. So that's what ideally I would like to look for. But that is only, again, if Bitcoin can hold and manage to retest that upper region level from here on out. This green line, right? This green box that I drew is what's known as our monthly support. Okay, so this is technically, again, going to be a very strong support structure, and I do, in my personal opinion, have very strong confidence that this will end up holding out. I do think so. But again, things can always change in moments' notice. But again, I think that if we don't end up holding this support structure, things could get very ugly. But ideally, though, I do think that this will end up holding out. And for another reason as well is, of course, if we always pull up our EMAs, guys, you can see that very quickly we're coming up already to our EMA support structures as well, right? So right down here, we have our 200 exponential moving average. And this one right here is, of course, that 140 exponential moving average. And a lot of you guys are asking, well, why do those play a huge influence? Well, if we go back to 2017, 2016, you can see that throughout the entire run up that Bitcoin had in its bull run, you can see that 140 played a huge influence in holding throughout the entire bull run. Literally the entire bull run, every single time it retested those EMAs, you can see that we had a continuation towards the upside, guys, like really, really strong continuation. And so right now it's no different, right? Right now that we are retesting those same EMA structures at that monthly support structure, and they are currently holding as of right now. So if this were to hold out from here and we were to see a strong reaction off of it, then I would say that we would most likely end up seeing, again, some more continuation towards the upside. So that is another reason why I do think that currently we will end up holding here, at least for the time being, and possibly formulating a consolidation, right? At least ideally, right? That's what ideally I would like to look for. And another reason why I say that if we were to go below this current area, right, that I would be bearish, because at this point we would be trending below all major EMA support structures. But as right now we are holding them, so I think that there is a really strong possibility that we would end up bouncing and consolidating to move towards the upside. So more or less, guys, if you had watched my last video, my outlook is pretty much similar to that, and I still remain pretty bullish because, for one, we are still technically holding above all major EMAs. We are only currently retesting our monthly support structure. And technically this is the first kind of real pullback that we've experienced in the past couple of months. I know it's been a crazy run up and a lot of people have made a lot of money throughout this entire run up, at least for the past 6 months or so. If you did catch it. And so it really doesn't worry me, to think that, things are, that these retraces wouldn't happen. Like, it doesn't worry me because it is completely normal, and experiencing pullbacks in the market is just going to be part of the game, guys. And I know that in crypto, pullbacks tend to be a lot more violent than other markets, right? So it does deter a lot of people from being in it. For me personally, I've been used to this, right? I've been in this market for a long time. I've been in this market since late 2016. So basically, I'm going on for almost 4 years of being in crypto. So from my experiences, stuff like this is just completely normal, So you have to learn how to understand support structures. Take a look at liquidation areas of strong liquidation taps. monthly, I already mentioned that, monthly support structures and technical analysis just in general, right? Understanding what risk management is and understanding divergence patterns, understanding just all of that, because it's going to help you out in the long run and you would see things from a different perspective. I know there's a lot of people right now that are really freaking out, especially they're looking at this and saying, well, it looks like we failed. It looks like we are going to go back down. And I know a lot of people would actually like that, right? Because it is in their best interest to try to get some cheap Bitcoin once again. But I don't think so, at least not for the time being. I don't think we're just there yet. I think that right now we are still in a situation where we are uptrending. And regardless of this pullback, that we will continue to do so as long as we support or hold those support structures, right? So that is my personal opinion. And so I want to know what you guys think, right? Do you guys agree or disagree with what I currently say? Do you guys think that we will end up holding off in this general vicinity, or do you think we will end up going down, okay? Very quickly, I guess I'll cover both Ethereum and Chainlink. I know those are everybody's favorites. So Ethereum kind of had some similar price action to that of Bitcoin, but it did end up seeing a little bit more retrace towards the downside. You can see that it is currently holding that green box, which is the same green box that I drew from like a couple of days ago. And that is, of course, our support structure from way back when in 2017, 2018. You can see that that is an area of strong confluence. And so for me, this doesn't look like anything that's out of the extraordinary. To me, that as long as Ethereum continues to hold this general vicinity, I think that for the most part, we could still get some consolidation around this area, and then eventually we will continue to move towards the upside. Technically, our monthly support structure for Ethereum is way back here, right, at that 300 range or so, right? So around this general vicinity, way down here, which personally, to me, I do think that would be a little bit too low, but again, nothing's out of the picture, right? It really wouldn't surprise me if Ethereum were to come down all the way down to $300, and eventually we would end up shooting towards the upside. But for the time being, I do think that things are still holding out pretty well. And I mean, come on, guys. This thing was up nearly, from just May alone, it was up at its peak almost 130%. So for it to retest, maybe it's have a 50% retracement, that's normal, guys. It's normal. So if anything, it'd be greedy for somebody that's holding to not expect a pullback, guys. So for me, I think things are still looking pretty solid for Ethereum. So let's move on. Of course, the next one is Chainlink. So Chainlink actually kind of did what I expected it to, right? It did end up printing that higher low structure, and it's currently formulating a falling wedge of some sorts. And again, it is still trending above all major EMAs. Like I always mention, guys, make sure to always have your EMA structure supports. But it's eventually, once these EMAs start to come up towards like this, right, more or less, eventually I do suspect that Chainlink will most likely end up holding at this general vicinity right there. So that's where I would expect to see probably the bottom for Chainlink, right? So most likely I think that we will end up seeing maybe some consolidation here, maybe another pullback towards the downside, and eventually we will see a huge surge in price to move upwards. That's what at least ideally I would like to see for Chainlink. That also is an area where we would see its strong monthly, weekly support structure around this general vicinity as well, right? Because that is where we had an area of consolidation. And as you guys know, if you guys have paid attention to my videos for the past couple of days or even months at this point, areas where we had strong accumulation or consolidation, those tend to be areas of strong support structure, right? So tapping into that area would only be a good thing for Chainlink, right? That's where we would get a lot of buyers to come back in to kick into Chainlink, and at that point we could see things explode from there on out. So at its lows, I think that Chainlink could go as far low as possibly $10 or so before actually seeing a strong reversal in the market. So that's what I would be looking out for. Ideally, that's what I would be watching out for. So I think I'll end the video there, just because those are pretty much the three majors in the market. If you guys want me to take a look at any other coin in the market, be sure to let me know in the comment section below. So if you guys want me to check out any coins, be sure to comment down, and I'll take a look at those possibly in the next video. So again, that's why it helps to comment to see if you guys agree or disagree. And also, just like any other video, guys, if you guys enjoyed this, be sure to like the videos, subscribe, and as always, hit that notification bell to be notified for the next one. And as always, guys, I'll see you on the next one.